we don't take care of this, we will both burn. He's trained, conditioned, built to disappear.
No. The Bourne Identity is the first film in the Bourne trilogy and is directed by Doug Liman and stars Matt Damon in the title role as Jason Bourne. Now, this movie begins with Jason Bourne in the middle of an ocean, and he gets picked up by some fishermen and he has no idea who he is. And this movie is about him discovering who he is, what his background is, and what's been going on in the past and why these people from the CIA are trying to hunt him. Now, one of the things I really like about this movie is the mystery, because as I said before, this entire story is about Jason Bourne discovering who he is and picking up the pieces, and it does keep you in relative suspense throughout the entire movie, and just to see all the pieces come together, it is very rewarding. It's also great to see the CIA and to see all the agents they placed around the world and how it works and how they hunt Matt Damon's character, Jason Bourne, and it's a fun part of the movie. And Chris Cooper, who plays the head of the operation, who is going after Jason Bourne, he does a great job also. I just love that character because Chris Cooper plays those kind of caricatures really well. And Matt Damon also plays Jason Bourne really well, and it's great when he does all these things. He does all these moves on the police and stuff, like punching and stuff, and then after he does, he's like, how in the world did I just do that? Like, he would just have the the guns of the police or the people after him would just be like, how in the world do I have this thing? And yeah, Matt Damon sells this character really well. And the score by John Powell is really, really good. The theme is one of my favorite action themes of all time. The sad thing with that score, though, is that although the theme is wonderful, it is very misused in the movie in the sense is that John Powell should have used the music even more. Take the action sequence in the middle of the movie. There's a car chase, and they use a very upbeat music choice, and it doesn't fit. And what the sequels do better is that they use the main theme much better by using it in that actual scene, and it's very, very suspenseful, very, very action-y oriented, but the music choice they use in that action scene is a little too poppy, a little too upbeat in that style, and it just doesn't fit. And also the edits in that action scene are a little bit too long. Like, you would have a motorcycle that just crashed and is like stopping in the middle of the road and sliding in the middle of the road, and it would the camera would focus on it way too long. And the other part of the action that didn't really work for me is the actual fights choreography, not the choreography, but the sound effects, because they sound a little bit too pre-2000s, pre-1990s, like Indiana Jones with the punches, and it sounds really fake. The sound effects aren't that convincing. The romance also between Jason Bourne and his love interest, Marie Kreutz, I think is her name. They work as a duo running from the authorities. That sense it works, and I think it works really well, I think. It's just they shoehorn a little romance scene in the middle of the movie, and it doesn't pay off, especially what happens after and before that. They don't set it up. So they work as a couple running away, and it pays off, especially by the beginning of the next movie, but that part could have been cut out and the movie wouldn't have suffered as much. And the color palette. Let's talk about the color palette. One of the reasons I like the sequels is the color palette is much more modern looking and much more documentarian style. And this one's a little bit too bleak, a little too dark, a little bit too 1990s-esque. And it just doesn't feel as convincing in the sense that it's trying to buy the fact that Jason Bourne is doing this in the real world. And it just doesn't look right, especially compared to the sequels. Maybe it's just me looking at hindsight, but the color palette for me is just not as good as it could have been. But anyways, the Bourne Identity it's a wonderful start to the series. It's got pretty decent action. It's got good characters. It's got great performances. It's got a great mystery plot, but it's kind of overshadowed by its sequels. And as a standalone story, it's great, but it's not a masterpiece. I'll give this movie an 8.3 out of 10. It's still a really, really good movie. It's a great movie, but it's not as great as its sequels, and I'll go into the sequels in the next reviews. So, The Bourne Identity, have you seen it? What do you think about it? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the Bourne Supremacy review.